Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Imara Jones, founder of TransLash, to discuss turnout projections for Black women, and LGBTQIA+ communities and the issues that matter most. Imara, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you for having me.
Do you expect better turnout for Black voters and LGBTQIA+ communities? And what are the issues they're focusing on the most?
I think what we're seeing is record turnout across the board. I think that we saw Black people, especially Black women, have record turnout, especially during the primaries. And we also know that there is the same amongst LGBTQI people. There is an interesting fact that if every single trans person who could have voted in the 3 states that gave Donald Trump his margin last time voted in 2016, then he would not be president. And so I think that people know that, and the turnout across the board is going to be dramatic. And I think we're going to have record turnout today in person. I think a lot of people who are people of color and also LGBTQIA are concerned about their votes being delivered properly through the mail. And so I think that we're going to see record turnout in person across the board today as well. And in terms of the issues, I think that one, for Black trans people and for trans people overall, it's literally the ability to survive. We've seen a record targeting of trans people by this administration, from service in the military to the ability to have equal access to healthcare, to the ability to be able to be protected by employment anti-discrimination laws, to equal access to housing. And so I think that's the first thing. And beyond equal access, it is the way in which all of these other issues intersect Black and LGBTQIA communities in particular ways. We know that there is less access to housing and jobs, and we see that in the employment data. We see that in the amount of wealth that these communities have been able to accrue due to all sorts of laws that are not beneficial. So I think if you take the basket of issues that everyone has, you add in coronavirus, and you add in this issue of even being able to have equal access to the law overall, those are the issues that are most concerning.
What does the Biden win mean for the trans community?
Well, I think Joe Biden has said that, first of all, that he would pass the Equality Act, which would extend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to LGBTQI+ people, which means that so many of these issues that I raised in terms of housing, employment, military, health will be covered. They'll no longer be issues because it will be in law that these laws apply to everyone in our country. And also, he has said that he would tackle the issue of violence against Black trans women in this country. We know that the United States has the highest level of murders of Black trans women than any other country on the planet except 2. That's Brazil and Mexico. And he said that he would work with local law enforcement to address that issue. So I think those are 2 really critical things that he has pledged to do, actually within the first 100 days. He's promised to pass the Equality Act within the first 100 days of his administration.
Well, that makes sense. You're the president of all the people, not just a certain segment. And I think that's really, unfortunately, we still have to talk about these things in 2020. People should just go about their own business and worry about what's happening in their own lives. So it is encouraging to hear that there's something for all the people out there. And it's not just the presidential outcome that matters to these communities or any community. I think the composition of the Supreme Court, because of course that's what sets the law. How concerned are you there? It's pretty stacked.
Well, I think it's very concerning and very alarming. We know that, for instance, Amy Coney Barrett has ruled that using the N-word is not grounds to say that a workplace is hostile. If your employer uses racial slurs against you, that's not an automatic sign that that workplace is hostile. And she's also said in a private speech to the Federalist Society, which is a conservative group that promotes conservative justices, she's also referred to trans people in really disparaging ways and in ways that are harmful. And so I think from those 2 particular vantage points, she is concerning. And what's even more concerning is that she is the she would be the sixth vote on the Supreme Court for a very hard right conservative agenda. And we know that not necessarily because of things that she said, but because of the people that are pushing her and why they say they're pushing her. The President of the United States said that he's wants her on the Supreme Court so that she'll strike down the Obamacare, and has said that he wants her on the Supreme Court so that if the election is close, she'll rule in his way. So I think all of these things together are really concerning and raise a lot of red flags.
Where does TransLash fit into this ecosystem? What are you doing to support and advocate for the trans community? And what is the ultimate goal when it comes to cultural understanding?
Well, I think that the first thing for anything in terms of being able to create space for other people is to see them as people. And that's why cultural change is so important. The ability to be able to look around the table and see, because you have been exposed or you've been able to see through portrayals trans people or marginalized people that they exist, to look around the table and say, why don't we have these people here? Why don't they work in our workplace? Why aren't they, our customers in a stronger way? And so what TransLash does is it works to show those narratives, to show the amazing trans people that work in tech and in medicine and in academia and in finance, and to say that we are important contributors to this country, that we matter, and therefore we deserve equal protection on the law just like everyone else. We deserve equal opportunity just like everyone else, that we deserve our place in our society. And we do that through storytelling, through our podcasts, through documentaries, through videos, through events, even with corporations like Samsung, to bring people together to understand why trans people matter, that we are human, and that we deserve our place in the society just like everybody else.
Right. Well, if you think about it strictly through a business perspective, the more diversity you have in the boardroom or the workforce, the more innovative you can be. If you have the same kind of people ideating on the same, kind of concepts, it's just never going to be advanced.
That's right. And I say that all the time. I say, the reason why it's really important to actually have trans people as a part of your employee base is because trans people have so many of the skills that you need at a moment of volatility and disruption. The ability to think beyond structured ways, the ability to be creative, the ability to innovate, the ability to be able to see past limitations, the ability to be able to adapt. And because those are the skills that we have in order to be able to even exist in this society, bringing those into your workplace, bringing those in to the rooms where decisions are made is critical. And moreover, we know that younger people in this country care about trans people, have trans friends. And so any corporations that want to communicate that they are ones where all of their customers are welcome are going to have to communicate that so that a much broader number of people will be able to access their products and be willing to access their products because their customers care about us.
All right, Imara, thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.